This is a list of ancient Egyptian queens, starting with the first dynasty all the way till the Nubians in the 25th dynasty. There will also be some queens that come from as far away as Persia and the Middle East. This is Pharaoh Jenneferre from the Fourth Kingdom. His two wives didn't do as much in their life, so there's not really much to talk about them. It is proper to say, though, that the second wife seems to have been a symbolic marriage rather than a realistic one, where they would have been fornicating and stuff like that. This is Khafra. He had 4 wives. The one with the short hair, showing how early the hairstyles diverged in ancient Egypt. This typical Nubian hairstyle, as some people call it. His name is Merencash III, and right next to her is Merencash II. Menkaure, the one in the screen, had 3 wives, but his biggest wife was Kamere Nebti. The interesting thing about her is she is actually the daughter of the pharaoh, so this guy married his daughter. We go to the first dynasty. This is Intef III, and of course incest has started by now. Ea, the sister of the king, wife of the king. This is Queen Ashayet. The way she looks, she has been thought to be Nubian, but keep in mind this is the very beginnings of Egyptian empire. This is Pharaoh Mentenhotep. He has 6 confirmed wives, but we're only going to look at the most important. In this picture, it shows all 5 wives, and as you can see, they have short hair, almost similar to the other Ashayet woman. This is one of the wives in detail. Her name is Kawait, and she seems to have been a priestess. It seems like this guy married a bunch of priestesses, all 5 of them, and they seem to be Nubian. And this is another one that is thought by experts to be Nubian, Kemsit, Queen Kemsit. This is Senseret II, and he married his wife's sister, Kenemit Neferhejit. Like I said, she is his sister and the queen. Senret II was one of the first to marry. All 4 of his wives are siblings. This is Nofret II. All of Seneret II's wives are his sisters, and he had 4 sisters. The next one is Seneret III. The woman in the top is his daughter, and the woman at the bottom is just his wife. The daughter's name is Sita Thorianit. Believe it or not, that's a woman. The next one is Amenat IV. He married his sister, who, after he died, she became the first female pharaoh in history. Don't count the pre-dynastic ones, where there is one alleged woman. Next is a series of pharaohs and queens. In some cases, we know who the queens are. In some cases, we know who the pharaoh is, but not both. And this is going to be left up here just in case you're interested. And yes, they're marrying their daughters and their sisters. So a lot of the trend of making sure the blood is royal is founded before. And keep in mind how quickly we saw Nubians enter the frame. And since this is incestuous, you would assume that that Nubian blood stays deep, especially for the main pharaoh's family. The other gets diluted. Next is Pharaoh Seconray Tau. He is credited with pushing the Hyksos back into the Middle East. This is Sijehuti, the queen and sister of the pharaoh. Next is Pharaoh Kamoze. Surprisingly, he only has one wife that shows up into the frame. Her name is Ahotep the Third. She also seems to not be related to him. Congratulations to that guy. And now we transition to the New Kingdom. Keep in mind how many Nubians had already came in, and even Meroitic people. I'd explain this pharaoh whose name is Ahmose the First, and his pitch black wife, who her name is Ahmose Nefertari. The word Nefertari means beautiful. She is the direct daughter of Sekentai Tao, the pharaoh that I showed earlier, who had like Asian eyes, meaning that they're related. Next is Amenhotep the First, and he married Ahmose Meritatum, and as you can tell by the name, it's the daughter of the previous king, so these two are related. They're siblings. Surprisingly, she's the older sibling. Next is Thutmose the First, who had two wives, two known wives. Of course, he had 5 altogether, but it's not known if they're related or not, or anything like that. Again, I will remind you at this point that the royal line that is one is joined with Nubians. Next is Thutmose II, who married Hatshepsut, the famous one, who actually ruled Egypt as a queen. The second one to do it since the first one I showed you. Her husband actually died at 30, which probably this is why she ascended to this rank. They were half siblings. Next is Thutmose III, and what's interesting about him is that he had 3 royal wives who were of foreign origin, Menet, Menwi, and Merti, who all 3 of them are from Asia. So obviously they are not related to the king. Merte Hatshepsut is not related to the pharaoh, but she is of royal blood, so her kid gets to be heir. And the first Setiya, the first queen also. Next is Amenhotep II. His wife is Tia, and she was not considered a great royal wife until she had a royal heir. Then they revised it and started erecting statues for her. Her son's name was Thutmose IV. Thutmose IV married 4 women. One was a commoner, one was a foreigner from the Mitanni clan, and one was his sister. This is Mutimwea, who she is thought to have ruled as regent for a while and might have chose Tai for the next king, whose name is Amenhotep III. He has a lot of known wives, but his chief wife was Queen Tai, the daughter of Yuya and Tuya. She has been alleged to also be Nubian, but might have just been a native Egyptian. Queen Tai and Amenhotep III had a child, Sitamun, who became the wife of Amenhotep III. More of this. He's also thought to be Nubian, especially with this photo of her. And even though she's thought to be Nubian, it must be kept in mind that Amenhotep III had other wives, and his other wives were from Mitanni, Asia. Next is Amenhotep IV, better known as Akhenaten. Obviously, he married Queen Nefertiti, which they ruled in equal power. But it mustn't be lost on to people that at this point they were also starting to marry Asian rulers to make things better. between them and the Mitanni. Tudichapa, or woman at the top, was married to Akhenaten. Next is Smenkhare, Pharaoh Smenkhare, who was the brother of Akhenaten. There's some theories that say it was Nefertiti, but ye mind that. He married the daughter of Nefertiti and Akhenaten, Meritaten, meaning he married his niece. The next is the world famous Tutankhamun or Tutankhamun. He used to be called Tutankhamun. Like the others, he married his sister, his older sister. Her name was Ankhesenamun. He also married others. Keep in mind their physical appearance, because at this time the artistic style was getting realistic. His grandfather, he married Tay, a woman who was not related to him, who was just a nurse who helped deliver his daughters. Next is Ramesses I and his wife Sitre. After that, it's Seti I, who married Tuya, Queen Tuya. She seems to have been a military pick and was not related to the king. Next is Ramses II, also known as Ramses the Great. He married Nefertari, who became a queen in her own right. It's not known whether or not they were related, but it's highly likely. Another queen that he is married to that's worth mentioning is Meritaten. She is actually his own daughter. That's why I'm mentioning it, to show that traditions are still alive and well. It seems like at this age, a lot of the queens held a lot of power. This is another one of his daughters. Her name is Bentenat, and he married her too. This is why it's likely that Nefertari was also related to the guy, because the tradition was still very strong. Next it's Seti II, and by now it's 1200 BC. This is his wife Takat, and it's possible that they were siblings. The next pharaoh is Ramses III, where his concubines tried to kill him. He's the one of that conspiracy. His wives were found guilty and executed, ahead with one of his sons. This is his daughter wife, Teti, and this is her depicted doing a ritual. Next is Ramses IV, who took over after the conspiracy had gone through. Dua Tentopet is his most likely wife. Afterwards, it's Ramses VI with his wife, Nubkesped, who we don't know her exact origins. Next is just a bunch of Ramesses after Ramesses, and the one I will mention is Ramses IX and his wife, Bakatwernal. See, none of these images of her are clear, so that's why I wanted to leave it out. I will merely show the next four, but the one that's important is the one called Caramella, because she was a queen of Nubia who then became Pharaoh's queen. This is High Priest Herihor, and he was a ruler for a short time. And this is his wife, Nojamet. Next, it's Pinegem I and his wife, Duathathor. They call them high priests because they weren't officially the rulers of Egypt. This is Senejem II and his wife, Nescons. And again, these people are royal priests and they were in charge of Upper Egypt. This is Shoshenq the First. And this is his wife, Koremama A. We know nothing about her, and she's the only person mentioned married to this guy. I'll leave it here for now because the next few wives and pharaohs are going to be foreign rule, whereas this one has been an unbroken chain. Even the ones that weren't the pharaoh that I mentioned, the woman tended to be the children of Pharaoh, I think Ramses X. So, yeah. The last question you would ask is, why did I not include these two into the list? Well, first of all, this would be an exceptional look in Egypt. But second of all, they were not part of the royal line that would then give birth to the next one and the next one and the next one. So they are royals, but they are not the actual giving birth to the king royals. Notice also how the yellowish skin of the woman is almost never shown as the color of the queens. Go back and look at all of them, as I showed you. They're always shown as brown. This yellow is to represent magic, or what you call that now, death or something like that. It's not to represent real life. The person who actually takes over, because this is Huni's children, it's Sneferu, then it's Khufu. These two have nothing to do with that lineage. They just happen to be royals. And now consider their facial appearance of the men, the pharaohs, the earliest kings like Huni that you saw just now. The fact that the women are actually brown, the queens are actually brown skin, and the fact that they're in Africa, is there any denial of their African heritage?